Hi, everyone.
Good morning, everybody. Good afternoon if you are in the Eastern Hemisphere of the Earth. So I'm Nicolas Deynac, a geologist at ELIS headquarters, and I'm deeply glad to welcome you to this webinar covering the 2D interpretation workflow of PaloScan. And I hope that you all remain safe either at home or at the office. And I hope that it is the same for your friends, colleagues, collaborators, and family. I'm with Marion Barret today, who will assist me during this presentation and this demonstration in order to be sure we could answer your questions in real time. So some of the questions will be answered in real time. Some of them will be potentially postponed to the end of the presentation. And optionally, we can further discuss about any feature of the presentation by mail after this session. Thank you. So I will start by sharing my screen. And so the presentation we prepared. Perfect. So please feel free to let us know if something goes wrong with the presentation, if you are not able to see what is displayed. So once again, I'm Nicolas, so do not hesitate to call me by my first name. Today, we are covering the 2D interpretation workflow of PaloScan. So let me just activate my pointer. Good. So while interpreting 2D lines in PaloScan, we first need to create what we call a 2D line set. This 2D line set can afterwards be conditioned in order to create any kind of attributes or custom attributes. Then the seismic interpretation part corresponds to the creation of what we call the 2D model grid, so composed of nodes, horizon patches, within which propagation and an automated correlation of lines is performed. The refinement of the grid followed this creation step toward the modifications of the correlations and the management of mistype between the lines. Then a 2D relative geological time model is created, so corresponding to the input 2D line set. And then a 2D horizon stack is created from the relative geological times, followed by a 3D horizon stack that can be called 2.5D because it comes from the interpretation of a 2D horizon stack, towards the creation of a 3D geological time model. So all the tools are integrated in order to make the work of the interpreter the most easy as it can. So in terms of simplification of the workflow, starting from a set of 2D lines, we create a 2D geological time model, followed by a 2D horizon stack, converted to a 3D horizon stack, and then the Bayesian model corresponding to the 3D geological time model can be created. So first, 2D lines can be conditioned, attributes can be created. For instance, real-time attributes, as it is the case here with the envelope, as well as this other attribute, for instance, the sweetness. For more custom attributes, a calculator implemented in PaloScan enables the use of 2D lines as a variable towards the creation of, for instance, reverse polarity data, as well as any kind of other attributes such as custom constant gain. The default gain of PaloScan is a coefficient 1, 2, 3 of 10. And so here, thanks to the calculator, any kind of custom constant gain can be created. Once the data has been conditioned with any kind of advanced attributes, line splitting, undersampling, then the model grid can be created. The model grid is composed of nodes that can be considered as auto-picked points, auto-picked seeds, and then those seeds will be used to propagate horizons. So the distribution of the seeds is controlled by the interpreter. The vertical resolution corresponds to the polarities and zero crossings. So the interpreter can decide to use either peak and trough, or zero crossings, or peak, trough, zero crossings. Then the spatial sampling concerning the distribution of the nodes corresponds to a constant step defined in bin. For instance, if the bin size of the 2D line is 25 meters, using a patch size, so distance between two nodes of 5 bin, means there will be a distance of 5 times 25 meters between two contiguous nodes. So that is why the spatial resolution is constant, whereas the vertical resolution of the grid depends on the polarities. Once those nodes have been created, Paloscan then performs an automated propagation in order to connect those nodes. The propagation is based onto a function of minimization of the cost in order to be sure that Paloscan properly respects a proper polarity consistency. And so patches assigned to nodes corresponding to a peak will be exclusively connected to peaks. Additionally to that, Paloscan integrates the distance between the seismic traces as a security to be sure that there won't be any horizon crossing polarities. So the propagation is based onto the similarity of the seismic traces, as well as the distance between the traces. Thanks to that, Paloscan delivers a library of 2D seismic polarity consistent horizons. And this library is called the model grid, the 2D model grid, and it can be refined in order to organize the geological correlations. And it can be used later towards the creation of a 2D relative geological time model. So here is the zoom in of the model grid in order to appreciate the connections between the nodes. And then, once the nodes have been created, Paloscan automatically propagates, and then the interpreter has to reconnect and correlate the different lines together. So this is an option available in Paloscan. I mean, letting Paloscan exclusively propagating, but without automatically correlating the lines. That was the original version of the tool. And in 2020, Paloscan now both propagates and connects the 2D lines. So it's a very interesting new feature toward speeding up the work of the interpreter. Of course, it is still possible for the interpreter to modify the correlations between the lines and recreate them based onto his own appreciation. Another improvement in the 2020 version is the management of the line plane intersections. For instance, here, considering that we are interpreting this 2D horizon onto this line, but it does not yet exist onto this one, we are still able to visualize this line plane intersection onto this line in order to help the interpreter choosing which reflector should be reasonably connected to this horizon. So how the interpretation can be extended. And this river is, of course, the intersection between this line at the left-hand side and this one at the right-hand side. So the interpreter just has, thanks to the previous plane line intersection to correlate the two lines. Then, concerning the most of the manipulation of the model grid, the interpreter simply has to connect, for instance, this line with this one, and the more the interpreter will correlate the lines, the more will be organize the stratigraphy within the line set. We call that the model grid horizon constraint. Then, optionally, thanks to the bottom right corner button, the interpreter can control the vertical mistyle and correct it according to the horizon constraints performed between the lines. So at any time, the interpreter can switch between the mistyle correction management and disabling this mistyle correction management. Once this work is achieved, or since it is an iterative process, the interpreter can every time switch between the model grid refinement and the geotime model generation. The creation of the 2D relative geological time model will be based onto the marked horizons only. The idea is to simplify the geology where the signal could be not so easily followed. And so the distribution of the relative geological time is isoproportionally performed in between the different marked horizons. So here at the left-hand side is the 2D model grid with the marked horizons. At the center part of the picture are the marked horizons, and ParallelScan isoproportionally distributes the relative geological edges towards the creation of a very synthetic geotime model. Then, this geotime model will be converted to a 2D horizon stack, and 3D horizon stack, and finally, a 3D model. So I will now share my ParallelScan application in order to carry on the workflow. So just as a reminder, there is a chat area in order to discuss about any precise or specific questions. So starting from ParallelScan and assuming that we have already imported 2D lines, as it is the case in my project, so I do have a multitude of 2D lines in my project. Before going further in the workflow, it is drastically important to understand the kind of data we are working with. That is why we need to think about its understanding and the conditioning we would optionally perform. That is why, for instance, we simply have to consider, for instance, one of those lines, and a very important thing we could perform would be to look at its properties in order to appreciate, for instance, its physical size. So in this case, it is a very lightweight line, and as well as its resolution. So here we can appreciate the spatial resolution that is 45 meters. So the bin size of each pixel of this data is 45 meters. And the vertical sampling of the seismic data is 4 milliseconds. Something you can do to appreciate in detail the size of each pixel would be to modify the interpolation of the image from bilinear to none. And by doing this, we can visualize each pixel and appreciate their spatial and vertical size. Depending on the nature of the data, we can condition it. So an additional tool I would like to show you is the modification of the scale type in order to switch between the default scale type survey to pixel. By doing this, we can appreciate that this line starts from 0 up to 1,200. Those represent the number of pixels of spatial pixels. So that is why we have within this line a spatial series of 1,200 pixels. And this information will be very critical towards the management of the lines. In case too long, it remains possible to split it. We call that 2D lines conditioning, so from the 2D line toolbar. So 2D lines conditioning. And if we decide to drop the considered line, for instance, this one, we can, after that, decide to split it vertically by playing with a minimum V and a maximum V value, as well as spatially. Our interest will be mainly spatial. So by default here, by splitting it with one limit, we split it in two parts, one part with 601 traces and another one with 600 traces. It can be split in 3 or 4 parts, for instance. So it is totally tailor-made for the interpreter, and we can refresh, of course, this split number. Paleoscan informs in this info box that only 30,000 traces are accepted towards the creation of a 2D model grid. In case, we can use this move slider tool in order to modify the position of the splitting line. So the goal of this 2D lines conditioning tool is to split the lines in order to have shorter lines. Another tool that can be used in order to condition the lines would be to create 2D lines attributes, and in particular, an undersampling one, toward the creation of an undersampled 2D line. By increasing the trajectory step, for instance, by 2, we will divide by 2 we will multiply by 2, the bin size from 45 meters to 90 meters, tensing with the vertical sampling. So each time we multiply by 2 either the bin size or the sampling rate, we divide by 2 the physical size of the data. This conditioning can be performed for both 2D lines and 2D line sets. It works the same. So here I do have a line set. And decimate this full 2D line set. Finally, as I mentioned during the presentation, the calculator is available in order to use as input any kind of 2D lines. So I just have to go back to my 2D line class of my project loader. I just have to drop this 2D line there. Then I can just start writing the name of this variable. And as I mentioned, I can, for instance, create a reverse polarity information by multiplying by -1 the data. So I just have to preview. I can open the same line in 2D, like that. I can synchronize them by dropping one viewer within another one. I can display the color scale. I can do the same for this viewer thanks to the properties window, color scale. And if I decide to zoom in, if I cross-navigate within this trough reflector, it corresponds to a peak reflector within the original data. We have simply applied the reverse polarity. Now, let's switch to the creation of a 2D line set. So from the 2D line toolbar, we simply have to go to this first button, 2D line creation, and new 2D line set. To create a 2D line set, we simply have to drop 2D lines and or 2D line set. So if we drop 2D lines and the 2D line set, we will expand a 2D line set. So here, if I just drop all the lines I have imported, Paleoscan provides me the display of the architecture of the 2D line set. PaloScan informed me that I can normalize the values. By default, each 2D line may have its own extrema, so minimum, maximum, concerning the contrast of acoustic amplitudes. So I could have performed an individual an automated normalization toward averaging the values between the lines and homogenizing the values. So once the 2D line set is created, the interpreter gets such an information, and so that is displayed like this. So in the bottom left corner, we have the distribution of the lines, and there is a thick dashed line in yellow for 2 lines with an overlay in pink. So the yellow part corresponds to the intersected lines thanks to the cross navigation mouse mode, and the pink area corresponds to this bottom right corner corresponding to the intersection between the lines. So that is exactly the kind of display we will use toward the correlation of lines during the model grid interpretation process. So I will close this viewer, and I will directly switch to the creation of the 2D model grid. So I will create a new 2D model grid. Since I have created a 2D line set, this one, I simply have to ask PaloScan, while navigating through the data, to generate the preview of the model grid. To do so, I just have to put my cross-navigation cursor somewhere within the line, and then test parameters. I can go to the properties of this viewer, activate the 2D preview, and ask PaloScan to display the grid. At this point, we can appreciate the distribution of the nodes and the links between those nodes corresponding to seismic horizons. So at any time, I can decide to display one 2D horizon or another one. At this point, it is exclusively a preview. That is why we do not have access to the full outputs containing the 2D model grid refinement. We can, of course, modify the patch size. So here, by default, it is 7, meaning the distance between 2 nodes. I can increase it to 9. And then I can appreciate the new distance between 2 nodes. I can increase it, for instance, to 15 in order to be more synthetic. As you can appreciate, the distance will be, of course, longer. The other parameter will be the control of the polarity covered by this auto-picking. So for instance, peak, trough, and zero crossings. I just have to refresh the preview, and we can see that we have a more dense distribution of the nodes. Optionally, a smoothing can be applied onto the data toward the increase of the easiness for PaloScan to propagate the nodes. Let's say if I decrease the smooth level to 1, and if I ask for a new preview, PaloScan can no longer properly propagate to the data. So the smooth option is the very recommended, highly recommended option when you create your 2D model grid. Of course, those horizons will be guided by the smooth data, but at least the modification of the data will be very limited compared to the gain in terms of horizon propagation. Let's say smooth level of 7 and patch size of 7. By doing this, we are very sure that we take advantage of the full information coming from the seismic data. There are some areas where there are no links, but there are still nodes. That is why PaloScan will still be able to create geotime information even if the seismic horizons are not continuous. There are some more advanced options concerning the constraint of the creation of the model grid. For instance, we can create from a minimum D value, so a minimum depth to a horizon, the model grid. So for instance, if we already have in the database any horizon of interest, for instance, the top basement in my case, I just have to ask for a new preview, and Paloscan will directly constrain the creation of the nodes in order to not create any geotime information within the basement. Of course, Paloscan will be sensitive to the continuity of the reference horizon, and Paloscan won't be able to create any node, so any geotime information between a top with information and a bottom with a void, the void corresponding to the holes and gaps within this top basement. Finally, once we have defined the way we want to generate a grid, we can control the kind of automated interpretation Paloscan will deliver. By default, Paloscan will deliver what we call the auto-interp. So it does correspond to the former, the original way of interpreting the 2D lines. Now, Paloscan offered another kind of interpretation corresponding to the same propagation, but the 2D lines within the set are now connected. They are automatically corrected by Paloscan. Of course, this is the first version of the creation, and those can be modified by the interpreter. Or Paloscan can deliver both. If we choose both, Paloscan will deliver such an interpretation. So this is my 2D model grid. Paloscan delivers the initial grid corresponding to the nodes without any connections. Paloscan delivers the automated interpretation, so the same interpretation but with the links. And finally, the automated interpretation with connected lines. A very conventional workflow would be to start from this interpretation, where Paloscan tried to connect and correlate the lines. Once we have opened this auto-interp_connected lines interpretation, we have access to the same kind of display as we had with the 2D line set, and the interpreter can start refining some horizons. So since Paloscan generated all the horizons, we just have to navigate somewhere within the data, and we activate, propagate a horizon. And we just have to extend it like that. Paloscan highlights two lines at the same time, and we can see the intersection between the lines. So if we are quite satisfied by this horizon, we just have to mark it in order to be sure that Paloscan will consider it toward the creation of the 2D geotime model. And we can do the same elsewhere. For instance, I'm grabbing this peak, I press propagate. I can carry on its propagation like this. I can continue like that. So the shortcut for this option is W. And here Paloscan says that I will have to further the model grid if I want to carry on this modification. Paloscan informs me about this option because here my choice will induce the management of an overlap between pre-existing horizons that Paloscan has interpreted. If I agree with my choice and if I want to automatically truncate this horizon, I just have to press apply. And Paloscan automatically cut the additional parts. I just have to press N in order to achieve the creation of this. So the way that the next point, so once I have finished to interpret this horizon, I can now try to correlate a few lines like this. And as you can see here, I finished the edition of this horizon. Thanks to the cross 2D line viewer, I just have to use this shift on-off button in order to ask Paloscan correcting this vertical mistyle. So when we apply that, since it will be applied simultaneously for all the lines, Paloscan apply a comprehensive distortion of all the lines without choosing a master reference line. I can do the same within this area. So I will potentially choose another horizon. So let's say I'm grabbing this trough like that. And if I press M, Paloscan automatically correct the mistyle because I am still in mistyle management. If I disable that, I recover the original statement and shape of the seismic data. So I can do the same for all the lines, for different prefactors between those two lines, like this. And at any time, I can shift on or off the vertical mistyle management. So the more we will interpret the lines, the more we will correlate them, the more we will be able to properly correct the mistyles. And then, at any time, thanks to the preview of the model, Paloscan gives me an idea of the output geotime model I will get. This output geotime model will be directly connected and will directly depend on the density of horizons I will refine and mark. So for instance, here, this is absolutely not consistent. I just have to integrate, for instance, these marked horizons, and then Paloscan automatically take it in consideration. I can do the same within this area. And I will guide more and more Paloscan toward the creation of the 2D model, like this. So I can carry on within this area. I can integrate more and more constraints, like that. So the interpretation is totally under the control of the interpreter because the geotime model will exclusively integrate the marked horizons. So for instance, here, I can start refining a bit the basement. And after just a few parts refined, we are starting to properly correlate the basement. So this can be, of course, controlled manually inside the different lines. So I can do the same for this line in order to extend the geotime model preview. I just have to mark the horizon. So to mark a horizon, we have to press this button or the shortcut M, and we can preview the model again. We can extend the interpretation toward this level, like that. So I mark the horizon, and I just have to preview the model. To preview the model, we need to either activate, deactivate the preview thanks to the properties window, or we can use the shortcut T. So by doing this, we can QC in real time where we are refining and controlling the creation of the model. So if I extend it like that, Paloscan directly showed me where I am refining. And if I want to better constrain this area that is absolutely not consistent, I simply have to create a few more correlations like that. And Paloscan, after that, automatically correlates. I can correlate two pre-existing horizons in order to control the shape of the model. Thanks to that, I can as well QC the correlations thanks to this isoline tool. The isoline corresponds to the correlation line of the GeoTIME model we are about to create. So two ways to QC the correlations. We can either use the preview of the model, or we can use the preview of the isoline. Then, in case we want to better delineate any kind of critical surface, we can, and assuming that we have already spent time to manually pick any horizon, for instance, before starting the project in PaloScan, that is my case, and I do have within my database a few horizons corresponding to the basement or this regional surface, I can decide to constrain my interpretation with, for instance, the basement. So I can choose to respect a single priority or multi-priority. That depends on the kind of horizon creation we perform. And so once I have created this new constraint corresponding to the basement, I just have to preview again my model. And I can appreciate how PaloScan is now able to extend the interpretation to this dome. I can do the same with another surface. We could have been able to perform this constraint for the two surfaces at the same time. I can integrate another surface corresponding to this blue horizon. And so by doing this, PaloScan better guide the interpretation within all the lines. So the refinement of the grid can come both from an internal QC of the model grid and an internal refinement, but it can come as well from external horizons. So after a few hours of refinement of this grid, so of course, we recommend to regularly save the interpretation. To save the interpretation, you just have to press Save Interpretation button, so the third within the model grid toolbar. And when saving this interpretation, the full package of stratigraphic constraints, so all the 2D horizons are preserved, as well as their stratigraphic organization. By doing this, there's no need to individually save every 2D horizon of the model grid. That can be performed in case you just want to save individual 2D horizons toward exporting them to any other platform. But as long as you remain in PaloScan, you don't need to care about saving individual horizons because you care about the stratigraphic organization. The workflow of PaloScan is a stratigraphic framework. So once we have saved this interpretation, we can, for instance, close it, close PaloScan, and the next time we will come back to the application, we will just have to reopen this interpretation in order to be back to this statement. Just to show you the kind of final refinement you could get, I've prepared an achieved interpretation. And it contains more or less just a few more horizons everywhere within the model grid. So considering that you can interpret in a very short time frame a multitude of horizons, in fact, this interpretation actually corresponds to a few marked horizons. But with a few marked horizons, we can get an acceptable design concerning the modeling. And so that's why each time we preview the model, we can at any time appreciate it with both the vertical mistype management enabled or disabled. So for instance, here, if we consider that PaloScan does not deliver an acceptable GeoTIME model, we simply have to correlate those two lines, those two horizons, together like that. We can correlate as well those two horizons. I just have to fourth model grid. I can do the same, for instance, with those horizons. And once this is done, when I will generate my geotime model, the preview will be more consistent within this area. At any time, you can control the distribution of the colors thanks to the color bar. And so better appreciate the lack of quality of the model somewhere or the proper quality of the model. So the model is refined in real time. Every time we better constrain the model like that. Once we reach an optimum state of refinement of the grid, or once we want to go further in the workflow, we simply have to create the geotime model. So we create it thanks to this button within the model grid toolbar. When we compute the geotime model, we are simply vertically interpolating in between the marked horizons. So as a difference with the 3D workflow in PaloScan, the default geotime model in the 3D workflow considers the full signal of the data, whereas the 2D workflow exclusively bases its RGT modeling onto the marked horizons. The model can be created for the entire 2D line set or for exclusively one single line. So depending on the way you want to carry on your work, you can choose both of them. Then there are several options, including, so by default, the creation of the model without the mistyle management within in between the 2D lines. But it remains possible to create a secondary model with the corrected mistyles between the lines. It's possible to recompute the 2D line set with the seismic data with the corrected mistyles as well. And there are two additional outputs, more secondary but useful to QC the work, including the original position. So the original position corresponds to the value before the mistyle correction. So that means by creating the original position, you will get a 2D line set, and each pixel of this 2D line set will have an information corresponding to the original position. So it will enable you to get at the same time the depth of the voxel, and the value of the voxel will correspond to the previous depth, corresponding to the input 2D line set. And the divariant shift corresponds to the mistyle correction applied to each voxel. So the divariant shift highlights the difference between the original position and the new 2D line set with the corrected mistyles. Once this 2D model has been created, we simply have to get access to it thanks to the 2D line tab of the project border. And so we get, of course, the 2D line set model, so without mistyle correction and with mistyle correction. So we can visualize it like that. We get as well the corrected mistyle seismic data. And optionally, as I mentioned, the original Z position and the vertical variant shift. So here, if we display at the same time the corrected mistyle seismic data and the geotime model, we can, of course, correlate the information. So we can properly appreciate the distribution of the geotime onto the seismic data. And we can always modify the kind of color bar we want to have. From this relative geological time model, we can get what we call a 2D horizon stack. The 2D horizon stack is generated from the horizon stack toolbar. We just have to create a 2D horizon stack. Then we define the input model that can be the one without mistime management or the one with mistime management. It's up to the interpreter. Then we can modify the displayed information. And then we simply have to define, thanks to this slider, the upper limit of the horizon stack and the lower limit of the horizon stack. The horizon stack is a single file containing a multitude of isochrones. We simply have to define the number of isochrones we want to generate. So the isochrones are isoproportionally distributed. So that can be either, for instance, 40, or that could be 400. That depends on the level of details you want to get during your horizon analysis. So for instance, let's say we could generate only 60 horizons, for instance. Once this horizon stack has been created, it appears within the horizon tab of the project border, within the 2D horizon stack, and we can appreciate the distribution of those isochrones directly onto the 2D line set. So I will open the 2D line set with the seismic data and the created mistime, like this. So I just have to use the mouse wheel in order to scroll within my 2D line set. And by doing this, I am simply scanning, thanks to this stratal slicing, the seismic data. Once we are satisfied by this 2D horizon stack or not, we can at any time come back to the model grid, regenerate a 2D model, and then regenerate a 2D horizon stack. The goal of this work will be to convert the 2D horizon stack to a 3D horizon stack. So in order to preview the kind of interpolation we perform, we can use this button in the bottom left corner, automated interpolation. For instance, we have access to the diffusion, interdistance, and kriging. Considering the diffusion, that is, from my experience, more consistent with the proper distribution of the topography of the horizons, we can define a fixed distance or, for instance, an envelope convex. Once this is done, we will get a real-time 3D horizons, and it will give us an idea concerning the kind of interpolation that will be performed for the full horizon stack. So by doing this, we get a real-time 3D horizon, a 3D isochrone, and we can cross-navigate within the 2D line set. So it gives us an idea and a preview of the kind of full 3D horizon stack we will get. Before creating the 3D horizon stack, there is an option enabling to control the shape of the survey. To do so, let's assume I will just reopen my 2D horizon stack. I just have to select the green square corresponding to the survey, and I can decide to modify the orientation of this survey. Then I can as well reduce its extension if I want to do so. And additionally to that, I can control its spatial sampling as well as its vertical sampling. So by default, it does respect the original sampling of the data, but we can modify it in order to reduce the physical size of the cube of the 3D horizon stack we will get. So doing this, will allow the user, of course, reducing the topographic resolution of the 3D horizon stack toward the reduction of the bin size of the final 3D model, but it will speed up the process of Bayesian modeling. So that is why I would recommend for a preliminary 3D horizon stack in the preliminary model to increase this UTM sampling. In my case, I've decided to multiply by 10 the bin size. Once this is performed, thanks to the 2D line tab, it's possible to save this survey as what we call an extraction area. Once it is performed, the interpreter gets a new extraction area corresponding to the survey. And it will be very important to think about the orientation of the survey as well as the resolution in order to choose the direction to scan the inlines. So in this case, the inline will have north-western to southeastern direction if we do so. If I modify the orientation like that, the inline corresponding to the final 3D model will have a west to east direction. So once the extraction area has been saved, even if Paloscan save it automatically when we create the interpretation of the 2D horizon stack toward the 3D horizon stack. So here we are about to launch the full process like this. When I press save, I just have to define an output name. And the final result in such a case will be a 3D horizon stack. So here is a 3D horizon stack that can be used to scroll again within the 2D line set. And this 3D horizon stack will be reused afterwards within the horizon toolbar in order to create a model from horizons. In this case, a 3D model from horizons. We just have to define the survey. So in our case, we can define northeastern survey, and we just have to drop the horizon stack corresponding to all the horizons we want to use in input. We can, of course, preview the distribution of the geotypes. And once it has been performed, we just have to save this model in order to get such a 3D model. Such a 3D model can be displayed in 3D, like that. We can do the same for the 2D line set. And I've decided during the preparation of this session to create another model with another survey. So 2 times the same data, but with a different direction. And so if I just reduce my 2D line set like that, if I decide to navigate within my 3D model, I can at any time cross-navigate within the different viewers. And so I can appreciate with a different point of view the distribution of the structures in 3D. So of course we have access to both inline and cross-line directions. Once this 3D model has been created, it opens the line to a multitude of outputs. So just before talking about them, I just would like to show you another option concerning the initialization of the 2D workflow. So assuming that you exclusively have 2D horizons within your project and you don't want to create a 2D model grid, it's possible to skip the model grid generation part by creating a GeoTIME model from 2D horizons. To do so, we just have to define the 2D line onto which we want to create the model, for instance, this one. Then we define a series of horizons to integrate in the process of GeoTIME modeling. So there's no limitation concerning the number of horizons we integrate. So the more we integrate 2D horizons, the more we constrain the creation of the model. And so we just have to preview. So this simple tool, 2D GeoModel from horizons, is a way to skip the creation of the 2D model grid. It works exclusively if you already have within your database 2D horizons. And after that, you get access to the 2D horizon stack, 3D horizon stack, 3D model. So concerning the outputs of this 3D model, we have access afterwards. If you want to integrate well data, you can perform rock physics modeling thanks to the well data, so data from the field, including well logs and markers. And you can as well, towards the understanding of your Bayesian modeling process, the one we have performed, because we have the 3D model, the 3D horizon stack, it's possible, assuming that you have created the 2D GeoTIME model for the 2D lines. So if you remember, when we were creating the GeoTIME model, it was possible to create it for either the entire 2D line set and or 2D lines. If we create for exclusively 2D lines, or if we decide from the 2D line set to extract any line from the 2D model line set, we can extract individual lines. Once we get individual lines, we get access to the creation of a 2D line stratigrapher, like this. I just have to define my model for one line, and then we just have to display the corresponding line, like this. And it's possible to switch between the seismic domain and the Wheeler domain at any time, like that. So I just have to create a sequence thanks to this new sequence creation. Then I have to use the stratigraphic sequence picking mode, and I just have to create my different system tracks based onto the seismic pattern, like this. Then it's possible to assign a name to any discontinuity. For instance, I will call it A, then discontinuity B, and then I can give a name to this system track, like that, and I can display my stratigraphic column, like this. So this workflow enabled the user to create a stratigraphic framework and potentially a chronostratigraphic chart. This sequence can be saved. We just have to go to the context menu and save sequence in order to preserve the work. So I have finished with the demonstration. I will simply share the PowerPoint. And so I've decided to finish with this slide in order to remind you concerning the workflow we honor, starting from the creation of a 2D line set with a 2D line conditioning, the creation of a 2D geotime model. From this geotime model, the extraction of a 2D horizon stack, its interpretation toward getting a 2.5D horizon stack, and then the creation of a 3D geological time model based onto this 3D horizon stack. So we have time now for questions, and I just remind you that you can send at any time a technical request to the support team, or you can contact as well the administrative department as well as the sales department, and you can directly contact as well subsidiaries from Brazil, USA, Australia, and Malaysia. So I thank you again, and I will come back to the questions that were asked. So concerning the management of the mist-high horizons between lines, it has been answered. Then I come back to the question of Rola. Sometimes in 2D seismic lines, the mist-high between deep lines and the strike lines is related to the up-dip and down-dip velocity differences when they got processed. Indeed, it is not related to the datum. We have seen that there is a problem in the 2D composite line when you want to create the model. So I think it's not recommended to force the composite line to get corrected horizons. You insert an uncertainty to your model. I totally agree with you because we may assume that what we consider as when we lines are intersected, it can correspond to a natural and a true vertical throw corresponding to the presence of a fault, for instance. So this is as well an uncertainty we could integrate. That is why we allow the interpreter to appreciate if it is recommended or not to integrate the mist-high correction because of the nature of the data. We can either give the precedence to the acquisition, so what the acquisition and the process, so it does correspond to the point you figure out, and we can choose to give the precedence to the distortion of the lines. We design the comprehensive distortion of the lines. We decide to integrate while shifting the lines. We are, by the way, actively working on the upgrade and of the options toward the integration of mist-high management for a specific series of chosen lines. So not necessarily all of them. Actually, the vertical mist-high management is comprehensively applied for all the lines without any master line, without any reference line. So all the lines undergo a distortion, and so we are thinking about controlling that in order to distribute this distortion to a few lines. Carlos asked a question: is PaloScan associated to any 2D restoration software? So unfortunately not. It is not implemented because PaloScan is a standalone application. We nevertheless have several data connectors with other technologies, including Petrel. And I know that Petrel integrates restoration tools coming from former technology, Dynil and Poly3D. There is another data connector in between PaloScan and OpenWorks, so decision space geosolution. And another connector is as well available with Petrosys. So Petrosys is more oriented to map analysis and map creation. So I will recommend to use the data connectors, for instance, with Petrel, if you use it, because you can easily transfer without thinking about the format, horizons, volumes, well data, 2D lines, wavelets, faults, geobodies. So with body format, multi-body format, with layer format. So since PaloScan is designed as a seismic interpretation software, it is not seismic restoration oriented. So I would recommend to transfer the data like this. As a workaround and a complementary tool of your work of 2D restoration, you can use the Wheeler diagram offered by the sequence photography module that enables to flatten the data along your seismic, actually your fault planes. That's something that can be performed. Is it possible to use more than 1,000 marked horizons in the build? I guess so. Normally, there's no limitation concerning the number of horizons we integrate. I will nevertheless check that, and I suggest to come back to you by mail to confirm that. Because at least in the previous version of PaloScan, so until 2019, we exclusively authorized the creation of 1,000 surfaces for Studio Horizon Stack. There was a workaround on that by creating several system tracks and densifying 1,000 horizons for each stratigraphic unit. So it was not a drastic or a blocker limitation. In 2020, we leveled up this limit of horizons we can generate for Horizon Stack up to 10,000. From point of view, it is totally above the needs of any geologist, even if we want to track and delineate very thin beds and map data onto it, because we go under the resolution of at least we go under the sampling of the seismic data. And I will check if we can integrate such a high number of horizons in the creation of either a 2D geotech model from horizons or a 3D geotech model from horizons. I don't know if there are any other questions. If there are no other question or not yet, you can come back to us by mails, by contacting either the support or the contacts from the different subsidiaries. Thank you to Ola for attending the presentation. Thank you, Jenny, as well. I thank you. I thank everyone for attending the presentation, and I hope you enjoyed that. I invite you to regularly check our website as well as our LinkedIn page to check the coming webinars or coming events. And we remain open at any time for further presentations, further investigations concerning the different tools. We remain open to your suggestions, because PaloScan is overall designed for you, the interpreters, the users. Since we are in-house interpreters as well, we deeply care about the limitations of the technologies, and we try to push up the borders in order to make PaloScan more complete and more useful for the management of every kind of project you may have to manage. So thank you again. I will end this session. Have a nice day, stay safe, and keep in touch. Goodbye.